What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time it's for Floowandereeze. So Floowandereeze is probably the second best deck of the format right now behind Branded. Deck's super good. Only issue it kind of runs into is like consistency at the end of the day. Like most decks brick from time to time, and this one can do it quite a lot. But it does dance around a lot of issues that you do come into in the Branded matchup. It takes care of other matchups quite well. However, the only issue you will run into against Branded is that they can summon a defense position, and that can be a problem for you. However, we do have counters built into the main deck for this one. But as always, before we do get started on this deck profile, please do remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get on into this deck profile. Before we do get started on this one though, it is brought to you of course by yourplaymat.com, who got us our beautiful NolanTCG extra deck sleeves. These are available on yourplaymat.com, as well as you can get custom sleeves and custom playmats, so whatever you need for the current format. There is an affiliate link in the description down below that does get you a little bit of a discount on your order. Also, enter the code NOLAN10YP for 10% off your order. Also kicks back a little bit to the channel, so everything will be very much appreciated. If you're shopping there, you're getting custom sleeves, custom playmats down. Make sure to enter our code at checkout. But let's get on into this deck profile. Okay, so starting us off, we of course have our normal summons, and there are a lot of them, because this deck, normal summons, quite a lot. We are playing, I guess this is probably the standard bird ratio now for our little birds. So we're playing 3 copies of Floowandereeze and Robiner, just your basic stock standard searcher for level 4 or lower. 3 copies of Floowandereeze and M-Pen, your big boy searcher. We're playing 2 copies of Stree as our crow target. It crows, then it summons, not crow target, but crow. And then 1 copy of Token to add back our banish pile and get us another normal summon. So these are the littles that we're playing to kind of rotate our package. I do mess around in the sideboard of cutting the Stree down to 1. It's something you can perfectly fine look at doing. I do, when I'm siding more heavily, the Stree does come out of the main deck, the second one at least. Then we go into our big birds. So what I've essentially done with this list is Floowandereeze in its current kind of iteration will need to side heavily for other decks, because you're going to see stuff like Zombie World and stuff running around. So I've decided to expand things in the past that I've condensed on in order to give me the freedom in the sideboard. That does mean we are now back to 2 copies of Floowandereeze and M-Pen. I have historically only played 1. Originally when I first started playing it, I was playing 2. Found that 2 could be bricky sometimes, so I decided to cut it to 1 for the 1 riser. And then over time I actually cut that riser, so we were down to the 3 big birds. But now I'm back up to 4 because I would like to have the flexibility to side out the 1 if I need to. We are then, of course, playing the rest of our big bird line. So we've got 1 copy of Apex Avian and the 1 copy of Rise of the Mega Monarch. We're not playing the Harpy's Harpist in this build. Yes, it does seem good when you're going first when you're going second to break the board if you draw the Harpy's Featherstorm. But I'm not main decking the Harpy's Featherstorm, so there's no point to me main decking the Harpy's Harpist. So also spoilers for the end of the profile. Those things are something that I will mess around with in the sideboard. However, the main deck, we've opted to not go for that, so do keep that in mind. We do, of course, though, have a barrier statue floating in next, which is what we're going to be trying to floodgate out our branded opponents with. Then we get into our hand trap line. We have the 3 copies of D-Shifter, of course, just stock standard hand trap for this deck. The reason this deck is probably as busted as it is against many more rogue decks. Weirdly, this is the next tech choice I've decided to make. We're playing 3 copies of DD Crow. Yes, it is searchable, and yes, it is kind of a brick in some hands, but it does stop branded in red. When your opponent has up the continuous spell, Branded Lost, I think it is, you can't bell and shit there, branded red, you can't hard negate it. So the best way in this deck, I feel, is to just play 3 copies of Crow. You can Crow it away, hero at the target, and the effect doesn't resolve. However, Crow also does pair quite nicely with Advent, so yeah, it's a 2-card combo, and I know 2-card combos are bad, but this is also versatile, and does come up quite a lot in the branded matchup, and if you like me, you're going to be seeing a lot of branded matchup. And then after that, rounding out our hand trap line, another card that is pretty good against branded, it's 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, simply because you can Ash the branded fusion, and a lot of other hand traps just simply don't work against that deck. Then we move into our spell line next. Of course, pretty standard. We're playing 3 copies of Magnificent Map. I did flirt with, in this main deck, not playing the 3 Ash and opting to play Set Rotation into the other field spell. That may well, again, be something that I mess around with in the sideboard, because this quick play Set Rotation can play around the zombie world to set the zombie world over the set the field spell over the opponent's zombie world, and then that frees you up to play. So that is something to keep in mind. It is an option. Although at the moment I am playing Twin Twisters. That is my side deck card of choice. Even then, I'm still not sold on the Twin Twisters. I think Cosmic might be the way to go. Or Harpies could just work as well. There's a lot of options you can look at in your sideboard. That's why I said at the start, our sideboard will be very determinant as to how you play your Floowandereeze deck at the moment. Of course, with them, we do go through the rest of our Floowandereeze line. We've got our 3 copies of Advent, and then our 1 copy of the Continuous Spell, Unexplored Winds. I know people have been flirting with either 2 of this or 2 of Dreaming Town. I've opted to just go a 1-1 of each and opt for the 3 hand traps, or the 3 Crow and the 3 Ash. If you do want to change your ratios, of course, that is freely up to you. Like I said before, I've left lots of room in this deck to be able to side deck and change around things, because you will need to adapt pretty heavily for your matchups. And then we go into our draw spells. So we have our 3 copies of Pot of Duality following that up, along with 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Just pretty standard draw stuff. You can play Extrav if you want to play Extrav. Again, up to you and up to your budget. 1 copy of Terraforming comes in next. Of course, it's another copy of Map. 1 copy of Call by the Grave to stop those annoying hand traps. Hopefully you don't need them because you drew Shifter. And then 1 copy of Gold Sarcophagus coming through after that. It's effectively just searches everything in the deck. This deck does kind of lose pretty hard to Lancia. So in game 2, try and counter that Lancia. Hey. And then lastly, in the main deck is 1 copy of Floowandereeze and the Dreaming Town. Okay, now we have the extra deck, and the extra deck is relatively simple because you are playing Floowandereeze. It's not very accessible, but there are some key lines that we're going to talk about. We do have the 2 copies of Assembled Nightingale, because it does pair into our standard Zeus line. You're not going to be using the Assembled Nightingale effect normally, so your Zeus is pretty free. Then we have our 1 special summon mechanic that we want to drop on the opponent's turn, and that is with the Mechabar and the Entis going off on Maximus. I didn't want to play this, and then someone Maximus me on online the other day, and I was like, I need to probably be playing Nova Entis just for that situation. And then we have the 1 copy of Omega, of course, same situation, you can go into that. For some more link lines, however, we do have 1 copy of Baron de Fleur, not Baron de Fleur, 1 copy of Baron Blossom. I've imagined if Baron de Fleur was this cheap. And then we have 2 copies of Shureg. You're effectively doing this if you've been floodgated out and you can build a big board. You go into these net your searches. Hopefully you can kind of play through from there. 1 copy of Win, of course, stealing your opponent's Baron. Pretty cool. And then lastly, we have our Crooked Cookout. It's 1 copy of Underworld Goddess. Against Crooked Cook, you can typically they'll let you freely build your resources. So you just slap a bunch of stuff down, go into this, set your continuous, hopefully have the other continuous face up at that point, and then you will ruin their day after that. But that does wrap us up here for the deck profile for this one. So as always, if you do have any recommendations or things you would change, do make sure to comment them down below. I have not included an extra deck, side deck, portion of this video, because it should be up to whatever you are playing against at your locals. Never pay attention too much to side decks in, deck profiles. I'm always big against that. So play whatever you think you need to play for your locals, because it will be different from person to person. What I play might not be what you play against. So do put a lot of effort in your side deck with this deck. I've, of course, talked about it through the profile, left a lot of space to be able to side deck and move like that. I look forward to Blake commenting on this video. And as always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.